You know, if we start with the following premise, I actually believe this, we as a country are better off when we have two strong parties, okay? I really believe that. So if we have that as a common interest, regardless of who you're going to vote for in November, how worried should not just Republicans be, but we be about what's going to happen to the party 27 days from now. We told you about the spat between Trump and his own party, and trust me, I could read you 50 quotes here tonight in stronger words than I even said in my last interview as to why they're not supporting their candidate. But I want you to take a look at these numbers here from the both NBC and Wall Street Journal poll that was taken this weekend. Again, this thing was within a point or two a few weeks ago. Now it's double digits. That obviously after Trump's Access Hollywood comments on the bus. But these were taken before Sunday's debate here. I want to bring in our panel, and I want to unpack a lot of stuff. Nan Hayworth is former Republican congresswoman from New York. Giancarlo Parasuti is a former aide to President George H.W. Bush. Scott Vanderhoff, a former five-term Republican Rockland County executive and also co-chairman of the Palisades Institute of Dominican College. So proud Republicans, all different levels, but what we have seen, I think, is fairly described as something I've never seen before. But Scott, something that is a civil war going on right now. And the candidate and the Speaker of the House and any other Republican that dares break ranks with him, he's all but threatening them that forget about vote your conscience. I'm going to do everything I can to make you lose. This is ugly.
Well, it is, and I don't think Trump helps himself by doing that. I mean, these things tend to settle out and until a new one comes in. You know, something else will happen. But I think if he wins, he needs Ryan, or assuming Ryan wins, he needs to make sure he works for both the House and the Senate. So, you know, if I were the advisor for Trump, forgetting what happened yesterday or even today, going forward, attacking fellow Republicans isn't going to do it for him, because his 39 or 40% are still there, the same supporters he's always had. He needs to bring them in, and he needs to do it even though they've gone out and done something that he's unhappy with. So I think from your point, from a very Republican point of view, if we're going to accomplish anything should he win, this is not his approach. And I don't think it helps him get votes either.
And he even said today, among a lot of things that he said today, including, again, going with this rigged election line and everything else, which I believe isn't just reckless, I think it's dangerous, but leave that aside. He said, hey, I may limp to the finish line, but I'll get there. Even he's acknowledging, and he never acknowledges reality, that he's losing, and he's losing bad right now. To that point, I got to imagine when he says he's unshackled now, where possibly could he go that he hasn't gone already?
I think Donald Trump and his campaign have to answer a fundamental question right now, which is, what are we trying to do between now and Election Day? Are we trying to win an election? Or are we trying to tear down Hillary Clinton? Are we trying to remake the Republican Party? There's no not that there ever was a strategy, in my opinion, but they need to figure out what they are doing. Because right now it is completely unclear. To Scott's point, Donald Trump's not trying to win the election. I mean, that much is obvious. If he were trying to win the election, there are certain things that he would be doing that he's not, and vice versa. If he just wants to get into an intramural fight with his own party, okay, he can do that. And hopefully later on we can talk about this. But I'm going to make the argument that things aren't nearly as bad as everyone thinks they are. And hopefully we'll have a chance to talk about that.
Well,
but his campaign and the person at the helm in Donald Trump need to decide what they are doing now on the national stage and communicate that between now and November 8th.
When you say things aren't that bad, are you talking about nationally for the party or for the Trump campaign?
I'm talking about nationally for the party.
Nationally for the party, okay. What I'm saying I don't know is definitively true, but I heard enough that I do believe there's going to be more stuff coming out. There's going to be more tapes. It will, whether it's more misogynistic stuff, even racial stuff or whatever, we have not seen the last of it. You guys have all been around campaigns. You know they don't leak the worst 30 days out here. There's more to come. And I also know that some people are already talking loudly as to what it could be. My question is, how worried should Republicans be that this thing can go from bad to worse and can go from ugly to really, I don't even know what worse it is when you bring 4 women and you try and position them in front of the candidate that reportedly had slept with her husband, with your daughter right there in the audience. And then what he said.
3 of those women, and one of them was a woman who had been raped at the age of 12, and Hillary Clinton laughed.
Well, reportedly she laughed. No, reportedly she laughed.
There is a recording Richard, of her, by the way, with an exaggerated Southern accent, which is amazing in and of itself, but it's clearly Hillary Clinton in her Arkansas phase, laughing about the polygraph results, which showed that a man she had defended or was defending against rape charges had actually committed the crime. And she was laughing about it. I mean, how someone like that, I understand the premise of your question, Richard, but how someone like that can claim, I mean, you've got to be somewhere along the spectrum of pathological liar if you're going to claim that you're a women's advocate or an advocate for the cause of
We're correlating
females.
Donald Trump, his lifetime
something
record
like
with
that.
women, and Hillary Clinton's, and you're making the point that what we heard on that tape as a
It's
woman,
really bad.
more than really bad,
A
it would be
12-year-old
criminal.
girl. Yes. Oh, well,
Okay.
Richard, I
So,
agree.
but my point is the party now,
it should
right?
be something that everybody should hear
Do
and
you
be
believe?
deeply concerned
Okay,
about.
I can go down the line
talking
here. but
about Hillary's tape.
There's political calculations that Republicans clearly are making. And they're doing them, I'm getting them by the hour here, of people
Sure.
that want nothing to do with Trump. Some saying they're voting for Hillary, by the way, okay?
Right.
Or even Glenn Beck is considering to vote for Hillary. So I just consider the universe that we now live in,
I
okay?
urge any Republican not to, if you're having trouble with Mr. Trump as a candidate, do not vote for Hillary Clinton.
Okay, well-
and quite honestly, think about the Supreme Court. Think about policy. We have a candidate from each major party, okay, or from both major
Yeah.
parties, both of whom have aspects
Okay,
of
but let me
their
ask you this, just because I want to
personal
try and say, and then I want to get to the party thing.
presentation that people
as
may
an
find
elected
objectionable.
person, as an elected
Let's
person,
get past that.
everybody does calculations. People clearly have to worry that, 4 out of 5 Republicans, the base that put him there, are still with him. Okay?
Yeah.
What that says about the party, we'll talk about later on.
And they're not
But-
all
And
Republicans,
then
as
you've
you
got
know.
Republicans that have tough re-election fights that clearly, like the Kelly Ayotts of the world, say, no more. I can no longer be associated
because
with
you
it.
all, as you know, Richard, and Paul said as much, and Giancarlo, you know, I mean, Scott, well, you run in your district, when you're in Congress especially, you run in your district.
But
you
there
know
are
the-
such things as waves in election politics. Do you believe that we could see one this November?
I don't think we're going to see a change in the composition of the House, and I think we have
You
enough
think you'll lose seats, but
potential.
not enough to lose a majority?
I don't even know that we'll lose seats, Richard. I mean, there's stuff that's going to drop about Hillary Clinton as well. You know, she's had some pretty remarkable emails that have already been dropping, and there's more to come. Giancarlo.
Sir?
Go away. I know you want to say
Go
something.
away.
No. Go ahead. Sorry.
Well,
No. Why don't, are we staying on this
Yeah,
or
go
are we
ahead.
moving on?
Yeah.
No, I just look. Personally, I have to call into question someone's judge of character to take Donald Trump in total, what we've seen over the last 2 years, and be shocked and appalled that this tape came out. I mean, a lot of this is politicians coming to the realization that there is something in the public domain now that they have to react to. And that's what's driving, I mean, let's be honest, that's what's driving a lot of this. I find it very hard to believe that there are too many people out there who were rah-rah Trump supporters who are now completely shocked by what they heard and have to turn tail and do a 180 and say, I can no longer support him. Come on.
And we can name some of the names who were saying this for a while here, that this is the tipping point, really? And people are angry that this is the tipping point because think about some of the other things and the groups that he has insulted and said. And now all of a sudden, because he's talking about a host on Access Hollywood or about another soap actress and whatever else, that's the point that now that they can no longer stomach? Really? After everything else he's done and said?
Well, I agree, because we know him already.
Right.
We know. It's a good point, though, because whatever is released, if it is released in terms of other videos, I don't think it's going to make a difference. The 39-40 are going to still go with them. Things that are about Hillary that are released, I don't think that's going to make a big difference either. Remember, they're really talking about that group of independents, of people who might have been swayed. And, as you point out, the Republicans who weren't with him anyway and were really wanting to get off. The interesting thing is a guy like John McCain. Does he win now in his home state where of course, he's made a big issue on immigration and all those kinds of things? The real sad point I just want to point out is to Nan's point. Policy gets lost in all of this. We have lost the really critical issues facing this country in all this crap. And I call it nicely.
That's exactly what it is. And it's, honestly, I don't know about you guys, but, I always think people make too much of the body language stuff. They bring on guests now to analyze it. But there were points during that when he's looming over her and everything else that I just wanted to wash my hands. And I could tell you so many people. That's why historic for a Democratic candidate to have this level of Republican female support. It's at historic levels right now. There was an ick.
But you know what? I looked at Hillary Clinton's expressions and thought, how smug. You know, and I can't help it. Whenever Hillary Clinton does this rehearsed laugh of hers, I look at her and think of that poster of Richard Nixon from 1974. Why is this man laughing? Why is that woman laughing? Nothing is funny here. You are a pathological liar who's managed to make your way to the Democratic nomination.
To Nan's point, and in terms of being disgusted, we will all have our moments and our images of this election that will stay with us for the rest of our lives. And mine came this weekend. My wife and I had our 9-year-old at home. We told her that she could stay up if she wanted to watch the debate. We're turning on the TV. We're listening to the anchors have their back and forth prior to the debate actually beginning. And the words rape and sexual assault must have been mentioned at least 6 times before the debate even started. Our 9-year-old looked up at us and said, I don't want to watch this, and left the room. And in that moment, I realized that the children of America are looking to the adults saying, what the hell have you done? She didn't leave because she was bored. She didn't leave because she didn't understand. She left because she knew there were things going to be discussed that she didn't want any part of. This is a 9-year-old child.
When was the last time we had those words and those issues on the American scene from the presidential level? When President Clinton was president. Richard,
no, Nan,
Richard,
no, I'm going to say something.
I had
it is such a load.
And I couldn't expose him to the news.
It is such a load of you-know-what. If Jeb Bush was the nominee, if Carla Fiorina was the nominee, we would not have been talking about rape and sexual assault. We wouldn't have been trotting out the Clinton years. They would have actually, they would have actually been debating about issues. This is at least a world I know what we do in media. The questions, the subject matter, the disgusting nature of it, the fallacy that we would get into this is delusional.
Richard, you are my friend, but what Hillary Clinton did to those women,
Nan, you know the BS about this? I
BS.
I moderated Senate debates in New York. BS. In New York, far closer to the Clinton presidential years, I moderated races. Those subjects never came up. The candidate, candidate has something to do with it. Now, Donald Trump, whatever you think, and I heard a lot of Republicans in the primary process complaining about this, including people that were mocked for their size, mocked for their appearance, mocked for them being female in their faces and all the rest. He has taken us into a gutter, and this false narrative or comparison that they're both the same is completely unreal. And Republicans acknowledge this.
I would agree, Richard. What Hillary did was worse.
Oh, please. Okay, well, the voters don't happen to agree at this point. Now, when we come back, Trump's most recent comments about a woman were the tipping point. But the question is, how is he going to turn that around if he is to get women to come vote for him? We're going to talk about that after this.